Okay. So again, thank you for bearing with me on that and waiting online for us to be able to get this up and running. We are going to jump in. My name is Joe Hupp, and we are going to be discussing today Panda Penguin factors and what goes into ranking your website with regards to SEO, and then Panda Penguin factors of the aspects of SEO. So getting webinar training. Just need one more website up and then we are off to the races. All right. So if you haven't done this yet, let me just give you a couple things to do. At marketingwebinartraining.com, I want to give you an idea or an overview of what we're discussing today. Today we're going to be discussing specifically Panda Penguin factors and how they affect your search engine results and how they affect where you show up in the search engines. And we're also going to, that's a bigger part though, or a smaller piece, if you will, of a larger webinar series. So here at marketingwebinartraining.com, you'll see that we've got a schedule of all the different webinars that we do for SEO and specifically regarding SEO. One of the most important things though is for you, right here, it says click here to watch our intro to SEO. That's a really important video for you to watch because it's going to give you an overview of search engine optimization. Not only that, it will give you actually a 7-step process to follow to actually go out and do your SEO for your website. So if you haven't done so yet, I highly recommend you go to marketingwebinartraining.com, and on that third little video down here where it says click here to watch the intro to SEO video, it's important to go ahead and click on that and watch that. I don't want to say first because you're already on with me today, but watch that because that will be very important. And we'll make reference to that throughout the entire webinar series. Now, this webinar series then takes what you learned in the intro to SEO video and breaks each step down. There are really 3 categories of things Google looks at in order to rank your website. The first thing are on-page factors. The second are off-page factors, and the last are Panda Penguin factors. And every Monday at 9 a.m., okay, and then in the evening on Mondays we do an on-page factor webinar. And then on Tuesdays we do off-page factors. And then finally on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time we do a question and answer. And that's where you're really going to get the one-on-one type help, if you will. Because that's where you're going to be able to go in and ask any specific questions regarding your own website and the SEO efforts that you're specifically working on. And then finally on Thursdays we do the Panda Penguin factors. Okay, on Thursdays at 10 a.m. Hopefully at 10 a.m. right? We're a little late today, but at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. we do the Panda Penguin factors as well there. And so what we've done is in the last little bit we've been testing out a new process here, and we've gotten overwhelming response from our customers and in the beta tests that we've done, and that is where we used to say, all right, every other month you're going to get a 15-minute or so call with a rep, and really that's not enough interaction in our opinion. Um, and so what we decided to do, and we also found that a lot of times when we were on the phone call one-on-one, we'd say, all right, well, what questions do you have? And they'd go, well, I'm not quite sure, or this, that, and the other. But so what we did is we moved to kind of a group think and a group share. And so we have these webinar series that are live that you'll be able to ask any questions that you have particularly to what we're talking about at the moment. But then you'll also have an opportunity every week to have a Q&A, a live Q&A webinar slash phone call where you can ask us anything specific to your own website. Okay, so instead of having a conversation with us every other month, you're now going to have a conversation with us. You have the potential to have a conversation with us every single week. Okay, and so we want to make these as accessible to everybody as we possibly can. So even on Wednesdays, we'll be doing 2 of those, one at 10 a.m., one at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, to try to facilitate everybody's time and schedule. But we also will record every single one of those Q&A sessions, so that way you can also play those back and listen to them and watch them at your leisure and kind of get all those questions answered. But we found also that by doing that, we have a lot of people who will ask questions, and then other people in the group going, "Oh yeah, I didn't even know I had that question, but that's a great question," or "Yeah, I had that same question, I just didn't know how to vocalize it or verbalize it." And so we're finding it's been very, very positive. We're seeing that our customers are being able to actively market their business on a more regular basis because they have more touches with us rather than once every other month. Okay, so that's kind of a little intro to that. So just a final plug, if you haven't had a chance to watch the intro to SEO video, please go do that. Today, though, we're specifically talking about Panda and Penguin factors when it comes to Google. Now, even though I've got a picture of a panda and a penguin, it doesn't actually have anything to do with the animals, right? This update happened on February 23rd, 2011. A gentleman by the name of Amit Panda, and it's probably pronounced Panda or something like that, but Meet Panda works for Google. He came up with this concept of the three factors of Panda Penguin that I'm going to talk about today, and so they actually named the algorithm, the change, after him. All right, so that's kind of where that comes from. But there are three factors when it comes to the Panda Penguin update, if you will. You've got what are called social signals, user behavior, and then usability, user interface, and user experience. So when we categorize these Panda Penguin factors, we're going to categorize them into three main sections, and that's really what we're looking at here. All right. So now let's go through and let's address each one of these sections, if you will, each one of these pillars of the Panda Penguin update. So the first one are what we call social shares, and this just really is how many plus ones, how many likes you got, how many retweets from Twitter you're getting, maybe how many pins from Pinterest or social bookmarks you're getting. If you've sat in on any of the other webinars that I've done, you'll know that when I teach about SEO, I kind of say, hey, look, Google treats this as a popularity contest, and so if you would have sat in, a few years ago, we would have only been talking about on-page factors and off-page factors because that's all that really mattered to Google. Well, now, after this update that happened in 2011, Google started looking at mainly social signals and how the quality of your website and how customers interact with your website. And while it may seem like an annoyance from us trying to do SEO, overall it's a good change because think about it. Google's whole business is putting the best websites on the first page in Google. And so how do they determine, that's what they're always trying to figure out, how do we determine who the best websites are? Well, if you let the users say, a lot of times you're going to be right. And so what's one of those ways which users tell the world that they like a site? Well, they plus one it, or they like it on Facebook, or they retweet the content that's been posted on that website, or they pin an image or pin content on there, right? Or they bookmark it because they want to come back to it. That's a very good indicator whether users actually like the site. And Google wants to put sites to the top of its search results that users like because that's who uses their search engine, are their users. And so that's the concept here. So our goal is to get as many plus ones, which is Google's version of a like, if you will, as many likes as we can on Facebook, as many retweets on Twitter, and as many pins and social bookmarks as we possibly can. So here's three factors or steps or ways that you can improve your social signals. Number one is to facilitate social shares, meaning make it easy for your users to share your content. Okay, we like to use a plugin inside of your platform. It's called the share and like and share widget, but it's really an add this widget. And what add this looks like is, let me show you an example of this. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go to mojosac.com, and you'll see right towards the top, once that loads, there it is, you'll see that there's a like button. Okay, there's a tweet button, there's a Google Plus, there's normally a pin button there, and then there's a share, which are bookmarks. So you can see that right on this page, people that have clicked the like button 62 times. Now that's not how many likes we have on Facebook, that's just how many times people have liked this page. Or how many times they've retweeted this page or Google Plus this page or shared. We'd had 95 people bookmark this page. Okay? Now, the idea is this is one widget to facilitate pretty much all of the shares that I talked about that Google really looks at. Now, one other thing to keep in mind, okay, is that Google will never admit that they use or look at Facebook likes, right? But they have to, right? Google is by far the largest search engine, but Facebook has the largest social network of any website. They have 1.3, closing in on 1.3 billion users on Facebook. So Google has to be paying attention because it's the most used social network. And so the more likes that you have, whether Google wants to admit it or not, they are looking at those and saying, hey, yeah, if you get a lot of likes, that means you're a better site and we want to put you at the top of our results. So we want to facilitate those by adding the add this widget onto our website to facilitate shares on our page. Okay? So that's one way. We're just making it easy for our customers to be able to share our website. All right. Let's get back to our PowerPoint here. Having some issues. There we go. Okay, number 2 then is to be active in social media. What Google wants to see is what's your social footprint, right? They want to see how active. It's not good enough to set up a Facebook fan page and then never post to it. It's not good enough to set up a Google Plus business page and then never interact or post to it, right? It's not good to set up a business Pinterest page and never do anything with it. And so you need to be active. You need to be posting active on your website. And if you're not quite sure, well, what do I post on my social media networks? We have a whole series of social media webinars that we do live as well that talk about specifically Facebook, Twitter, and Google Plus and what to post, when to post, how to post. We show you how to do all that stuff. And so that is, a definite webinar series that you would want to attend as well. But what's your social footprint? You need to be active on social media. And then finally create what we call link bait. Now link bait is this. This is the concept of link bait. Make your content so good that your users absolutely have to share it. Okay? So the concept here is that's the ultimate goal, is that people would just share our content just because it's good anyway, right? But that's not always the case. But that's really what it should be. It's our content is so good that they're going to share it. And what are some ways that we could do that? Well, think about it. If I post funny stuff, right? Funny things tend to get reshared and shared quite a bit. So that might be a strategy that we take and just try to find funny pictures or videos and things like that and post it and tag it with our business info, right? Or informational content. People like that. So if it's a really good informational article or blog post, then people are going to share that type of stuff. Okay? If it's a product promotion or special or sale or Black Friday sale or whatever, okay, people are going to share that type of stuff. So those are some ways to improve your social signals. Now the next section or category of Panda Penguin factors are user behavior. And there's really two things and two aspects of user behavior. Number one is what we call click-through rate, okay? And click-through rate is if my ad, and when I say ad, I'm talking about my search engine listing gets seen 100 times. The question is how many times does it get clicked on? The higher the click-through rate, the higher your ad is going to show up in Google. Again, this makes sense because if my listing inside of Google never gets clicked on, well then why would Google want to still show it? Okay, so what do we do to improve our click-through rate? Well, you need to write meta information. Your meta tags are your title, your description, and that's what Google uses to create that search engine listing. So when you're writing your meta titles and meta descriptions, which if you haven't watched the on-page factor webinar, we talk about all that stuff and how to do that, okay? But you need to have meta information that really entices the user to click. And if it entices the user to click, well, then you're going to get a higher click-through rate. And the higher your click-through rate is, the higher you show up in search results. So it works hand in hand there. So we want to write really good, solid meta information. And some examples of that might be if I have an ATV website selling ATVs and UTVs and dirt bikes and things like that, I might put, largest selection of all-terrain vehicles or sports utility vehicles or whatever, right? That's kind of what everybody else does. But I might also put videos, products, large selection of products, videos, resources, ATV trails, yada, yada, yada. So I'm showing that I'm more than just an e-commerce website. I'm showing that I have a ton of information that's good for the user as well. Okay? The second factor behind user behavior is something that I don't want to say offsets, but evens out your click-through rate. Because just because you've written a good meta section, meta title, meta description, and you get a lot of clicks, doesn't necessarily mean that your website is good. Because you could just have hired somebody to write you a really good meta description, or even you wrote a really good meta description that gets a ton of clicks, but then when a user gets to your website, they may not like what they see. So they offset click-through rate with backlinks. Okay? And backlinks are when a customer comes to your website, lands on it, and goes, this isn't what I'm looking for, and hits back in the browser. Okay, so for example, let's take a look at that. If I go to Google and I search for one of my competitors on Google, Lovesac. All right, so these guys are a competitor. Well, here's their listing, right? Well, if I click on that listing, that helps their click-through rate. I just improved their click-through rate, so I just helped my competitor. But then I come to the page and go, no, this isn't what I'm looking for, so I hit the back button. And then I click on it again and hit the back button again, just for kicks and grins, because this is my competitor. I'm just going to do this. As long as you guys don't mind waiting for me for about 5 minutes, we're going to do this. And we're going to just hit back button. And maybe see their listings drop right in front of our eyes. Now I'm only doing this in jest because obviously Google tracks that and they only count that one time. But just in case, we'll go ahead and do it a few more times. But so again, think about the logic here. If I search for something, click on a listing, just even if it's a really good listing and entices a click, that's great and all. But if I don't actually have what they're looking for, meaning when I go to that page, if it's like, oh yeah, this isn't what I'm looking for, then they're going to back out really quick. Okay? And so the concept there is those are the way that they offset that. Yeah, you may have good meta information, but how good is your site? So when you have a website and you're trying to not improve the backclicks, but make sure that people don't backclick, then what you need to do is you really need to engage the users on your website. And you can do that through video. You can do it through interactive content sliders that rotate through images and different things like that. Those are great ways to engage users on a website. Okay? So there's your user behavior. And then the last factor that Google cares about, the last Panda Penguin factor, is usability, user interface, and user experience. And this has a bunch of it. This has a bunch of different things. But really quick before we jump into what the individual items are, let's talk about what usability, user interface, and user experience means. Google, again, they updated their algorithms to ensure that they are showing only the best websites at the top of the search engines. So far, using Panda Penguin algorithms, Google determines that you are a good website if you have a bunch of social signals, meaning +1s, likes, retweets, and pins. That's one thing. The other thing they track is saying, all right, if their listing is on the first page in Google, how many times does it get clicked on? Okay, so they have a good click-through rate. Then they offset that with how many backclicks. How long is the customer spending on the website, or are they immediately clicking back? Well, if they have a lot of social signals, they have a good click-through rate, and the backclicks aren't bad, meaning they stay on the site for a long time, the last thing they're looking at is, okay, well now we Google, on top of what the users have said, we Google are also going to look and search the website and look for key factors that we believe every good website should have. And so if you have these factors, okay, then you're going to be doing really well. If you don't, Google's going, okay, yeah, maybe their social signals are good, but their site really isn't that good. Let's try to find a better site out there that the users would like even more. Okay, so if you have these things, you're going to be seen as a good quality site. If you don't, it's going to kind of work as a negative against you. So the first thing is outbound links. Okay, and with regards to outbound links, you want to be linking to really good, authoritative, relevant websites. If it's not relevant to exactly what you sell, then you shouldn't be linking to it. Okay. Give me a second here to get my, there we go. So relevant authoritative websites. So let me show you an example of this on a site that I used to run. I've sold this site since, but we'll take a look at it. atvsuppliers.com. Okay, so when I was talking about ATVs before, well, it's because I had a website for a long time that sold that. And so we come here, and yeah, what's the main purpose of the site? It's to sell product, okay? And this works if you're a service-based business. This works if you're a national focus, local focus. It doesn't really matter here, okay? But you'll see now here's our ATV products, but then over here on the right-hand side we have this places to ride. On this places to ride, we have an interactive map where people could click on any state. So let's say we clicked on Texas, and you'd see that there's a bunch of different places for people to ride in Texas. So Bulcher, Texas, Boyd, Texas, Decatur, I'm probably butchering these names. But then you click on it, Red River Motorcycle Park. We click on it, and voila, what does it do? It takes them to Red River Motorcycle Trails. Okay? And takes them to places to ride. This isn't my website, right? This is a place to take them to that's very good for the user, because now people start using the website not only to buy product but to find places to ride. And do I care about that? Absolutely not. In fact, I want them on my website doing that. And so Google's going, all right, these guys actually care about the users because they're giving them good solid resources. Look, Google knows and understands that there is no one website that is an authority on that given topic. So if your topic is ATVs, they know that there's not only one website that is a solid top, authoritative figure, if you will, on that. So if you're linking out to other authoritative, then that makes you even more authoritative, because you're giving your customers what they're looking for. You're giving them very good resources. Okay? Another thing that you want to be concerned with here is HTML sitemap and having an HTML sitemap. Now, you do not need to worry about this because the platform, the Business Center, automatically creates this for you. Okay? But an HTML sitemap, here's an example of an HTML sitemap. Right down here in the bottom of my navigation, you can click on sitemap, and it's just a link. It's just a bunch of links to all the different pages in my website. Okay? It's, again, why is this good? Well, because it's good for the user. All right? Privacy policy and terms pages. It's important to have a privacy policy page or a terms page. Again, the platform automatically creates this for you, so you don't necessarily need to even worry about that. Fresh content. Google calls this the freshness factor, and they want to see how fresh and how often you're updating your site. If you're not updating and not keeping with this freshness factor, well, then guess what? You're going to be seen as more of a stale website, and Google does not like to have stale, boring websites on the top of their search results. They do not like to see a website that was published 10 years ago, hasn't changed anything, stay on the first page. Okay? There's a reason why sites like Wikipedia and those things do so well. It's because they're changing their content on a regular basis, and not necessarily changing, but adding content. Adding more and more for the user to come back, and a reason for a user to come back. Now, one of the best ways to facilitate this is through blogging. Okay, and we highly recommend that you blog on a fairly regular basis, at least once a week, or maybe once a month, whatever your schedule permits. But that adds and that helps with the fresh content, because every time you add a new blog post, that's new content on your website. It's even a new page on your website, which we're going to talk about here in just a second, because that actually also benefits you in the search results. Okay, use of rich media, videos, sliders, flash, things like that that are really good for the user, that make it just not about selling product or selling services that you might be promoting, but really providing good information. So let me give you a couple examples of this. Let's say that you have a local brick and mortar store, or maybe you have a an oil repair or a car repair place. Okay, and you want to you sell your services, and that's the main purpose of having a website, but you also want to show up well in the search results, so you need to facilitate the fresh content and the rich media. You may create videos on how to make certain repairs or things like that, or you make videos about different models of different cars and where different parts are, or just a basic your car 101, and say hey, just I'm so and so with Bud's Auto Repair, and today I'm going to help you learn your way around a Ferrari engine or whatever. Just take different cars, and I'm just brainstorming here, but the concept is you're providing good content, right? It engages the user. People will come back to your site not just for product, but to actually use your site. And that's what you want to try to get to. That's really one of the number one ways that you can differentiate yourself from other businesses out there, especially if you're in e-commerce trying to compete with people like Zappos and Amazon and things like that, Walmart. You can do that by engaging your users through good content, okay? And then use of breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs are, I'll show you an example of breadcrumbs. If I go on this ATV Suppliers website and click on a product, you'll see up here it's got what are called breadcrumbs. So let's go back to the home page, see what the breadcrumb says. It says home. Then I click on ATVs. Now it's telling me home. Then I went to ATVs. And then if I click on this 110cc ATV, then it's telling me I'm there. So it's a breadcrumb. Think Hansel and Gretel here, that it's dropping breadcrumbs behind us to let us know where we've been. It makes for good, easy navigation for the user. And so that's why they like to see that. Okay? All right, a couple other things with usability and user interface and user experience then. Use of in-text links. Okay, in-text links is called internal cross-linking, and it's a good idea to have internal cross-linking. I don't know if I do a really good job of it on this page, but on my MojoSac site, you'll see as you scroll through my page, right in the text, we've got a link to our comfort guarantee, or click here to view more testimonials. Blogs are another great place to put internal links and linking to other pages in your site, because it makes it easy for the customer to use the site rather than having to scroll all the way back up to try to find that navigation piece. It's internal in-text links. Okay. All right. Continuing on, trust marks. Trust seals, and I'll show you some of these in just a second. So let's just list them up. Consistent navigation. You've probably seen this where you go to a website and one time the navigation is on the left, you go to another page and voila, the navigation is now magically on the right. That's very confusing for the user, and so Google doesn't like when you do that because it confuses the user. Remember, Google does not want to show sites that is bad for the user, that confuses them or anything like that. All right? Okay. Flat site, a 3 to 4 click rule. Now, what that means is you need to have a very wide site, not a very deep site. And so the 3 to 4 click rule states this, that within 3 to 4 clicks, a customer should be able to be purchasing your product or should be able to navigate to pretty much any page in your entire site. You probably have seen this as well. If you've probably been to a website where I have to click here, to click here, to click here, then here, then here, then here to finally find what you're looking for. So that constitutes a very deep site that's hard to get through because everything's kind of buried. Whereas if you have a broad, wide site, things are very easy and accessible on every page. So let's take a look at a couple of these things. So we said trust marks, consistent navigation, and flat site. Let's look at some examples. Okay, so here is consistent navigation. It's always on the right-hand side, it's always in the top, and it's always on the bottom. Here on ATV Suppliers, we've got it on the top, the bottom, left, and on the, oops, a lot of product there, bottom. And no matter what page you go to, okay, it stays there. So if we go to dirt bikes, there it is. Okay, it's always consistently in the same place. The next thing we said was trust marks. This is an example of trust marks. You've got a privacy confirmed, business confirmed, and security confirmed there. So they're trust seals or trust marks. And this isn't hosted on my site. You can actually click on it and it says, hey, here's the verified URL with all the information through Consumer Safeguard. And so the idea is this is a third party who has verified my site. Google likes to see that because that helps with conversions. All right? And then finally, through that, we also said, okay, the last one we said was a wide site. So no matter where you go on my site, so let's go to Oval MojoSacs, for example, you'll see that it's pretty easy to navigate through. It's still right here and still right here, so the consistent navigation, but that also helps with the 3 to 4 click rule, because now that was 1 click from the home page, 2 clicks. What's my third click do? Well, add to cart. Well, how hard would it be for me to get anywhere back else in my site? Well, it's all listed right here. It's very, very simple, very, very easy to get to the different pages in my site. Okay, so that constitutes a very flat site and easy to navigate site. Unique authoritative content. This is also known as the duplicate content penalty. A lot of you will have that. Most local businesses don't have to worry about this, but if you're selling a product and you're using drop shippers and you've copied and pasted the drop shipping content, well, obviously that is not unique because your drop shipper already has it. So you need to go through that content and update that and really try to hone in and rewrite it. I wouldn't necessarily start from scratch. Take the drop shipper's information and use that as a good seed content. But if you have duplicate content, you're getting what's called the duplicate content penalty, which means why does Google want to show two different websites with the same content? The user's not going to like that because it might as well just show only one and the best of the two. Generally, they're going to go with the one that was there first, which is going to be your drop shipper, right? So you want to come up with unique authoritative content. I mean, Google flat out, their whole Panda Penguin update is really to fight this right here, unique authoritative content. A lot of people were just pushing out a bunch of junk content that was just duplicated elsewhere. They had just copied and pasted from some other plagiarizing, of course, but Google's going, man, there's a lot of duplicate stuff. That's not good for our users. So they've now found a way to find duplicate content and then penalize you if you have duplicate content. Now, luckily, it's a page by page penalty. It's not an entire site penalty. And the moment that you change your content, that penalty is lifted. So it's not like it's a permanent penalty either. They will immediately lift it as soon as you've come up with that. The other thing is a larger footprint. Sites with more pages in them do a lot better and rank a lot better than sites who don't have lots of pages. Now, some of you are going, well, oh my goodness, I don't have the time or the know-how to do that. For local businesses, it's a little bit different. I will say that. They don't care too much about a larger footprint. For e-commerce, if you're selling a product, they do care about it more. But a larger footprint, I mean, you're competing against Amazon. Amazon has over 1 billion pages in their website. Okay, that's okay. You don't have to worry about necessarily creating 1 billion pages by any means. But if your website, okay, has 100 products, you automatically have 100 pages. So it kind of facilitates that. Every time you create a new blog post, even for local businesses, every time you create a new blog post, a new page is created. So it's creating more and more pages to give you a larger footprint. And then finally, they want to know that you have a secure site. Now, again, none of you need to worry about that because through the Business Center, through our platform, it automatically secures, goes to an HTTPS, so a secure server when they go into the checkout. Okay, and so those are some of the things that Google looks at to determine what's the usability of the site, what's the user interface or user experience. Is it a good website? Is it going to create a good user experience? Because again, coming back to what they care about, there's 3 factors that Google cares about when it comes to Panda Penguin. Number 1, social signals. How many likes, plus ones, retweets, pins, social bookmarks do you have? Okay. What is the user behavior? Meaning, what's the click-through rate and what do the back clicks look like? Because again, those two offset each other. And then finally, what's the usability, user interface, and user experience? Again, taking a step back, looking at these 3 things, they make perfect sense because all 3 of these things really do help Google determine if one site is better than another. If website A has 10 likes and website B has 1,000 likes, which one's more popular? The one with 1,000 likes. If website A has a low click-through rate in their search engine listing and high back-click amount, and B doesn't, has a high click-through rate and low back-click amount, guess what? B is better. It just makes perfect sense how they're looking at this and analyzing that. And so our job is to make sure we improve our social signals, make sure we have a higher click-through rate, again, by writing better meta information, lowering our back-click ratio by engaging customers once they come on our site, and then making sure that we facilitate, okay, all of these usability things, all right? And so we've got these usability things, user interface and user experience. We created a list for you, okay, as we talked about in today's webinar. Now, one of the things that we're going to do, and it will be uploaded after today's webinar. It's not quite done yet, but it will be uploaded after today's webinar, and that is with your action plan. I want to talk about a couple things that now that you know about this stuff, what should you be doing? Well, first thing you need to do is you need to add the Add This widget. It's called the Like and Share widget to your website. Start facilitating those likes and retweets and plus ones right on your website through that widget. Okay. Number two is ensure everything from that usability checklist is on your website. And you're going, well, what usability checklist? Well, we had 2 slides of the usability checklist. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to save that as a PDF, and I'm going to allow you to download that at marketingwebinartraining.com/usability checklist. It's not there yet, okay, so don't go to it right now. But after this webinar, I will go and I will upload that to that URL. So I'm going to pause on this section for a second because I want you to write this down. Go to marketing, so write it down because it's not there yet, marketingwebinartraining.com/usability checklist, and you'll be able to download, okay, you'll be able to download the usability checklist and all the things I told you your website should have. You'll download that checklist and then make sure those are on your website. Then number 3 in your action plan is to start posting on your social networks 2 to 3 times per week. Okay? And make sure you're using the Business Center to post, okay? Because once you post in the Business Center, it will automatically distribute that to your other networks. And so, again, if you haven't watched if you haven't attended our social media webinar series, by all means, please feel free to register for that social media webinar series. And the next question always is going to be, well, where do I do that? Well, right on the same website I told you before, Marketing Webinar Training, you can come here to where it says Social Media. Wait for it. Okay, and there's all of our, see, Google+, Facebook, and Twitter, and you can register for those as well right there. And one other action item I want you to do is I want you to go watch the Intro to SEO video because that's very, very important for you to understand the entire process to what we're talking about so that way you know how to market your business through SEO. But when you do this and be consistent, you're going to start to see if you do the on-page factors, and again, if you haven't attended the on-page or off-page factors, make sure you sign up for one of those webinars as well. But the on-page, if you put all your keywords on your page, following the on-page factors that we teach, then doing some of the off-page factors, which is link building, more or less there, and then the Panda Penguin factors, you are going to see your website starting to rank on the first page in Google. Is it going to take some time? Absolutely. But you're going to start to see your listings creep up in the search results. Now, for most of you, if not all of you, we are doing this for you for some of your pages. We're not doing it for every page in your website. We're doing it for some of your pages. Most of you, it's at least 5 pages that we are actually going out, doing the on-page factors, doing the off-page factors, and we're facilitating the Panda Penguin factors as well. Okay? And so the concept there is we're doing it for at least 5 pages. Some of you 10, maybe 15, depending on your package level. But if you have 100 pages in your site, well, you need to start doing this for some of your pages so they can start to show up. And what you're doing coupled with what we're doing, you're going to slowly but surely start to see your website show higher and higher in the search results, so that way you can now start generating a lot more traffic and then ultimately sales on your website, because that's the ultimate goal here, right? Why are we doing this? Yeah, it takes time, it's some work, it's some effort. We're doing this to get our website visible so that way customers can find us and click on us and then buy from us. Okay? But that's the concept. So that's your action plan for the Panda Penguin factors, is add the social widget, which is, again, it's called the Like and Share widget. Ensure that everything on the usability checklist, which I'm going to upload here in just a few minutes, is on your website, and then start posting on your social networks, and watch the Intro to SEO webinar video. Okay? Whew. Any questions? I know there's a lot of stuff to cover. Again, we do this training every week, twice a week. We do it in the morning at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time and 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So if you want to revisit this, I would highly recommend you do so. I'd come back and watch it from time to time, because this, and then also really important is to make sure that you get registered for one of the 2 weekly live Q&A question and answer live webinar /call. That's where you're really going to be able to say, hey, so and so, Joe, right? Joe, look at, and my name's Joe, by the way, if you couldn't remember from the beginning. So I'm saying, hey Joe, will you check out xyz.com and tell me what you think how I did on my on-page factors? We will absolutely do that. Whether that webinar goes 30 minutes or 3 hours, we will spend whatever time's needed to make sure that you get the personal attention on a weekly basis rather than a every other month basis. So make sure you attend one of those to really get your questions answered, and we can really start to see your business starting to thrive and really start to rank well in the search results. Whew. All right. Hey, thanks so much for being on this webinar with us today. I recognize that you're very busy, so I appreciate your time. And I want to open the floor to questions. Do you have any questions about what we talked about? Any questions about what action plans you should take, what to do next, anything like that? I'll stick around for as long as I need to answer those questions. Again, if we don't have any questions, then we'll go ahead and conclude this webinar. And thanks for being on with us. But like I said, I'll stick around for a few minutes to see if there are any questions. It's either clear as day or clear as mud, and so we don't know what to ask, right? And that's okay. That's totally fine. We have found that the Q&A sessions we do are really where a lot of people feel a little bit more comfortable asking questions, and that's okay. If that's the forum, then that's how we'll do it. But any questions? It doesn't even have to be about Panda Penguin. Okay? It could be about anything SEO related. All right. The first question came in. It says, should the add button be at the top or the bottom? Great question. Really, it doesn't matter for search engines. Okay? They don't care. They just want to see that, right? I like to always put it at the top, though, because not everybody scrolls to the bottom, and so at least I want them to see it and maybe like it if they're like, okay, I want to come back to this page, so I'm going to like it so I can come back and remember it, or I'm going to Google Plus it so I can come back to it and remember it. So I like to put it at the top of the page. Google really doesn't care, but for my purposes, because I'm trying to get more likes and more retweets, I put it at the top of my page, on every page. So great question there, yeah. All right, any other questions? Don't be shy. What questions do you have? I know there's got to be some about SEO and how do I get my page to show up on the first page in Google or so on and so forth. All right, well, looks like that might be it. I'll wait for another 30 seconds to a minute and see if we have any questions. But if not, again, thanks for being on today's webinar. Don't forget to get onto the Q&A session and start with your action plan. All right, especially watching that intro video, and then check back at that URL that's up on the screen right now. Probably in about 10 to 15 minutes, I'll have that uploaded for you, and you can download that and make sure, use it as a checklist, if you will, to make sure that you are doing all those things in your website. Okay, looks like that's it. Thanks again for being on with us today, and we'll see you on our next webinar. Have a wonderful day.